for the cosmos. I am a sucker for love stories. And it's part of why I am here with the Poor People's Campaign, because I believe we really are trying to write a love story of who we can be, and how we can do that together. Desmond, we just lost Desmond Tutu. So I wanted to share a quote from him that I really like. It's one of the things that I love about the Poor People's Campaign is we pay attention to spirituality and we bring it into the conversation. And Desmond Tutu said this about religion. He said, religion is like a knife. You can either use it to cut bread or stick in someone's back. And that video, George, that was exactly, Alicia Keys was singing about that very thing of how we've gotten it so twisted. We've gotten it so twisted. And that really, from all our different perspectives, from all our different places, we can come together, and I can bring my knife and your knife, and we don't have to use them to stick in each other's backs. In fact, we're doing it wrong. That's not what knives are for. They're to help break bread, together for one another, and with each other. And so that's part of, I think, the distorted moral narrative we want to change. Is like, these knives are meant to break bread together. They're not meant to hurl or divide or separate. They're here to help us see the gifts that each other have, and to bring them and to celebrate all of those together. And the thing I love about the Poor People's Campaign as well is it's bringing those voices that others were not paying attention to, but we need to hear. And so my final thing tonight to share with you are that part of the reason I'm a sucker for love stories, and for the Poor People's Campaign too, is that we are not each other's enemies. We are not each other's problems to be solved. We are each other's ally, and we are each other's greatest asset. That is the beauty and love that can change everything. And that's the love story I want to write and believe we can write together. Let us pray. Holy One, let your love abound in and through us. Inspiration, wisdom, guidance, may it flow through us tonight. May we realize the gifts each other have to share. Help us to be allies of one another, and help us to recognize the assets that are here among us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Ashley. And thank you for keeping to the time. I didn't mention to y'all, Jennifer and Shemaya and Christina, you have 5 minutes. I will take my camera off and put up my hand when you've got 1 minute left. So at 4 minutes, if you see me, it means you've got 4 minutes. But now let's go to Mayor Jennifer Roberts.
Well, what a great opening from the video and from your words, Ashley. So if I only have 5 minutes, I better get to my presentation really quickly. And I am going to, I've disabled, the host has disabled screen sharing. Someone needs to let me share my screen. Oops, still there. When Samantha asked me to present about work that I'm doing, there are many things I'm working on. I'm working on saving our democracy with the Carter Center. I'm working on racial justice and healing and transformation with Samantha and the Reimagining America Project. But what I'm going to talk about tonight is what Clean Air NC is doing for environmental justice and climate justice. And now I can share my screen. So I am going to just show a couple of slides. One of the things that we're doing this year is training people to be advocates for the environment and for climate action, because we're not moving fast enough. We know that from what came out of the global conference on climate and what we know is going on in the United States. So Clean Air NC has all these areas. They work with health professionals. They monitor clean air here in Mecklenburg County. They have policy and legal advocacy. They will actually bring lawsuits to hold polluters accountable. And what we know with pollution is that it disproportionately impacts, harms, and kills Black and brown communities because they don't have the money to fight some of the polluting industries that have gone into their neighborhoods and the highways and other polluting areas. North Carolina is one of the top 2 states in the US for climate disasters. And even when there are floods in the eastern part of our state, it impacts us because we get climate refugees and we all have to pay higher insurance rates. And we all care about the health that continues to challenge us as we get hotter and the air and water get more polluted. Health is the biggest motivator of people to take action. All of these things contribute to declining health. 200 medical journals recently called climate change the greatest threat to public health. This is in the time of COVID, because if you have weakened respiratory system, you are much more susceptible to die from COVID because the pollution in the air has weakened your lungs. We see this in maternal health. We see this in mental health. We see this in water issues, and Flint is not the only area of the country challenged by that. Low-lying areas are more likely to be Black and brown communities that are more susceptible to flooding. And Reverend Yearwood put this really well, that Eric Garner wasn't just being choked by the police, he was also dying from asthma because of toxic air. We're not going to solve racial justice unless we also look at climate justice and environmental justice. So when we train people with Clean Air NC to speak about this and advocate about this, we talk about what solutions are available in our community, all the things that are going on. There's a program on the West End to green that district, to reduce air pollution, to make sure that toxic industries are not located there, to get more community gardens, to get more trees, to get covered bus shelters, to work on local food, to get rooftop solar and bike lanes, all these things that are available now, but that have not historically been placed in low-income neighborhoods. We also train people to talk to different officials. It's not just your city, your county, your state representatives. Our school system could do more with electric buses. Our kids are breathing dirty diesel fumes. Most of the low-income kids are taking school buses. The courts are incredibly important for holding polluters accountable. There are soil and water conservation districts. There are marine commissions. There is environmental management commission that's the governor makes appointments to. All of these things are ways that we train people to advocate with. We help them find out, where do you hear about public hearings? Where do you get that information? And so I just wanted to go through those slides quickly, but we are actively, we have about 105 trained climate ambassadors around the state. We have actually trained over 300, but 105 have signed up to be in contact with us and to continue to have quarterly meetings and updates. We got more people to speak at the Utility Commission hearing on Duke's integrated resource plan. Duke has in the country, it is a very repressive rate system that harms low-income ratepayers more, because the fixed amount of their charges are higher than they should be. So if you're a low-income payer, you're paying proportionally more than the huge industry is using up, millions of kilowatt hours. That's just one of the ways that Duke needs to reform. So we're working with people to raise their voices, to talk about their climate and environmental experience, what it's like to live with asthma, and why we need to work harder to make sure that we are greening our communities, that we are cleaning up our energy, that we are getting people out of polluting cars, that we are getting rid of diesel, and transitioning much faster.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
There we go.
Is there any
I'll put my email in the chat.
Yes, perfect. Shemaya?
Thank you, George. I do have 2 different organizations that I'm presenting on, so I may need a few extra minutes, but I won't take up to where it's overboard.
Okay, I will give you 1 minute after you've gone for 6. How about that?
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, So there are two organizations that I'm here representing tonight, and I'm actually going to go off video because my internet was unstable earlier and I don't want to get cut off in the middle. So I'm presenting for two different organizations. One is QC Family Tree, located here on the west side of Charlotte in Enderley Park. And I just want to provide this group with a brief, with just a brief summary of some of the things that we're working on. We here at QC Family Tree have sort of an interesting model. We do a lot of great work here. General members of our community don't understand the depth of what that work is. And so I'm just gonna highlight a few items that I think is important. First of all, I wanna highlight our work towards housing. So you may know one of the founders who's very outspoken about housing inequity, Greg Gerald. But our work actually extends just beyond going to City Hall and talking about the issue and all of that kind of stuff. We actually have 7 affordable housing units here in Enderley Park. 7 out of the 7 occupants of this housing would be displaced off the west side had we not created a situation of affordability. 100% of our residents are African American with an average income of 40% AMI or less. And that's the average. You know, there obviously some people are a little higher, some people are a little lower. And so as a continuation of that work, we look to, you know, sort of build around our 7 residents. One of the things that we've actively worked towards is the empowerment of our 7 residents that we have. And we've actually formulated a community council that we've nicknamed ourselves. We gave ourselves the name The Unknowns. And basically, the purpose of that group is to really provide direction to QC Family Tree. And it's the first step towards liberation and towards becoming a self-determining group. Also, we're also a part of the Community Benefits Coalition, which is a coalition of people who provide mutual aid, and that puts us a step forward in terms of helping the community in some very basic ways, but continuing our knowledge and understanding of, you know, how the community can be served in practical ways, but also allow the community to continue to be to grow towards abundance and to grow towards you know, operating from our own sense of equity and justice, whatever that looks like. And so their QC Family Tree does a lot more than just that, but I did want to highlight the housing piece of it because a lot of people don't realize that in fact we're making an impact in a way that some other larger organizations just have not made. If you want to know more about QC Family Tree or to get involved, please go to our website, www.qcfamilytree.org. And I also listed that in the chat. I'll do it again, you know, one more time so that it's kind of right after this presentation. And then the other organization that I've come here to represent tonight is an organization that I founded back in 2018 called, was formerly called the Westside Education Think Tank. We've recently changed our name, actually started a website, which we never had before. And we're looking to do some very progressive things. I won't go all into the history and all of that because you can go to our website, thinktankclt.org, to find all of that out. But I do want to speak to you about our latest campaign. And the latest campaign is the is to try to campaign to get community members to know what the community schools model is, and to just kind of give a brief summary tonight. There won't be a whole lot of detail, but I do have ways that you can get involved, or of course you can always hit me up, and I'm more than happy to talk about it. So the and also, am I sharing my screen correctly?
Yes, you are. I think it looks good.
Okay, great. Okay. So I'm not going to go into why it's important to the think tank, but I am going to say what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate and garner support from broad-based stakeholders like you to engage in this process and to really understand what the community schools model is. It is not community in schools. It's not a program. It is we're attempting to actually change the culture within our public school system. Some people look at the community schools model as the answer for some of the charter schools that have popped up all over in as far as Title I schools are concerned. And so a community schools model is a co-location of programs and services so that the teachers and the instructional staff can focus on the academics and not so much on, you know, food, clothing, and shelter, and some of the basic needs for the kids, and also mental health. A well-established community school actually operates from like 6 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night, 7 days a week, whether it's athletics, well-being classes, whatever, and the community fully supports the school during non-school hours. 30 seconds is not a long time to go through my entire presentation. So what I can do is I will send this to Samantha and have her send it with the notes that you'll receive. But the biggest takeaway, if I could, is to talk about the 6 pillars. Rigorous, aligned, and culturally responsive curriculum, focus on high quality teaching rather than high stakes testing, an inclusive model of school leadership, positive discipline practices like restorative justice rather than reliance on suspensions, authentic parent engagement, community and parent engagement, and of course, wraparound services. And we do have a Q&A, so if you have more questions about this, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you so much for allowing me to present.
Thanks, Shemaya. Okay, so Shemaya mentioned our Q&A, and you're hearing from several people at a time. So you might forget your question that you had for Mayor Jennifer after the time Shemaya is finished. And we have several people coming up. So if you have a question, make note of it. Write yourself a little note or put it in the chat. Just don't hit enter yet until we get to the Q&A section. Christina, I didn't see Christina here from LAWA, Latin Americans Working for Achievement. Is there anyone from the organization here?
I know that Zamara had gone away this week. I know that I don't see anybody else from that organization.
No one else from Latin Americans Working for Achievement? Well, let's have
I'll just say that they do enormous work helping the education, helping the Latinx community in education and creating scholarships and opportunities for the Latin community at this point. And I will follow up on further information on their initiatives.
Thanks so much, Samantha. So let's have our first round of questions. If we have any questions for Mayor Jennifer Robertson, did I get her name right? Or Shemaya, I'm so sorry, Jennifer Roberts. And Shemaya Haynes, either raise your hand or you can say stat. You can type your question in the chat before we go on. I don't see questions in the chat or hands. So we're going to go to our next set of speakers tonight. And those are in this order. And hopefully you can remember your order. Evelyn Hall is going to speak. She's representing the Monroe Democracy Center. And Scarlett Hollingsworth is, Scarlett, is your middle name Voter? Did you change your middle name to Voter? Okay. She's
No, that's my real last name. That's my real maiden name. No joke.
Voter. Okay, God bless you. That's a very interesting history. So Scarlett will be representing Indivisible. Brianna Bro is here with All on the Line. She'll be third. And the fourth speaker we'll hear from will be Cynthia Perry with AMP America. Y'all each have 5 minutes. When you see me on, we'll give you a 1-minute warning. But let's start with Evelyn, then Scarlett, then Brianna, and then Cynthia. Evelyn?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Evelyn Mabin Hall. I am co-chair of the recently established Monroe Democracy Center, which also encompasses Marshville and Wingate, North Carolina. I am happy to be on call with the Piedmont Circle, with the Poor People's Campaign Partners and Members Meeting to speak on behalf of the Democracy Center. But first, I must say the Poor People's Campaign is an organization that has been on the forefront of civil rights since 1968. And having grown up in a segregated society, the Poor People's Campaign was one of the first organizations to give me hope that a change was imminent. What continues to inspire me today is that the unity I have observed lately. The Monroe Democracy Center could not exist without our sponsors, partners, and friends. You have been at the forefront since the beginning. I often repeat the statement, united we stand, divided we fall. On Sunday, I decided to take a Zoom break and watch a Netflix movie. The movie didn't pique my interest, so I was not really focused, but I do recall the part where a Black man was in prison and he was being threatened by prison gangs because he owed them money and didn't do what he was told to do. Feeling hopeless, he met with the white Aryan Nation leader and told the leader he would let them in on a deal where they would profit if they helped him. The Aryan Nation leader's response was, "Why should we help you? The only thing we need to do is to sit back and watch all of you kill each other." They saw the divisiveness, and unfortunately, that divide led to a poor ending for many of the Black prisoners. Why did I tell you this? Well, I want you to know how grateful we are for your support. We are not operating in a silo, and as a result, we are confident the work we are doing will have a positive impact upon our society. Now back to my topic of discussion. The Monroe Democracy Center was initiated and partly sponsored by the Center of Common Ground out of Virginia. The organization has helped finance and support democracy centers across several states, with the Monroe Democracy Center being the first in North Carolina and Charlotte soon to follow. Our members are Reverend John Kirkpatrick, co-leader, Susan Hutner, our North Carolina organizer out of California, Elijah Boulware, our Democracy Center organizer, and our interns, Benjamin Rogers, Shaw DeLove, Nyla White, and Isabel Stetson. Nyla and Isabel are both fluent in Spanish, and our plan is to begin reaching out to our Latin community members. The goal of the Democracy Center is to have a major impact in underserved communities to inform, educate, support, and let people know their voice matters. And more importantly, their vote is their voice. We have had community empowerment meetings where we listen to community members to find out what issues they consider to be most critical. We are planning to host a Board of Education candidate town hall meeting, nonpartisan, of course, and possibly a county commissioner's town hall. We have intern programs, and we are interested in hiring more paid interns. If you know anyone who is interested, please email me. I think my email is in front of you. We also do voter education and outreach. We have partnered with You Can Vote, and we'll do tabling, phone banking, texting, and postcarding. You Can Vote have scheduled several trainings. If you're interested in the training sessions, please reach out to youcanvote.org/training. We will also continue to have public seminars and workshops. And as you can see in front of you are some of our goals and initiatives. So thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks for that so much, Evelyn. Did a great job.
Thank you.
At the beginning of the call, we were complimenting everybody's haircuts, but your hair looks fabulous. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does. So now we will be hearing from Scarlett.
Well, hi there. I'm hoping you're going to hear from me and not my dog who's going crazy at this moment. But good evening, everybody. And as all the speakers have said, I'm just really glad to be here with you all. I see a lot of wonderful familiar faces or names. And I am representing Indivisible NC District 9. We are a grassroots organization, and I'm actually going to, can you guys hear me? Actually going to put that in the chat. And what we are doing is we are striving to strengthen democracy through action and to educate and engage community members. So we started after the election of 2016 by Carolyn Eberly, and we had several, not just Carolyn, we had other members as well. And now our membership is over 1,300 strong. We have a Facebook group. We extend outreach also through our website and through our emails. And what we have done is we get together and just like the mission says, we educate about civic engagement. You know, how does government work? We've had speakers, we've had Poor People's Campaign, we've had the League of Women Voters, we've had Bree Brown, who's with us tonight as well, has spoken to us. We've had so many people to just help give us more information. So that has evolved, and because of COVID, here we are in 2022. And as I said, we started in 2017. And now we kind of fallen into, before COVID, our groove was really specifically, and one of our strengths we really found ourselves just kind of really adapting to was on the ground canvassing. We've gotten trained in canvassing. We've really enjoyed going door to door. We really did that a lot. In fact, there was a write-up about us in Time Magazine about our group and going door to door in 2018 when Charlotte Alter came and spoke to us. And we just felt that it was just so important. And our goal at that time was to flip the 9th district. So that was the whole thing, was to flip the 9th district. We supported Dan McCready and his campaign, 2 campaigns, as we all know, to try to get Dan McCready elected. Here we are in 2022. We've gone through 2 years of COVID. Obviously, that has really curtailed our ability to do the in-person canvassing. So we have adapted. We have done our education, and our outreach has obviously focused on Zoom, and that continues to, we kind of monitor, and we're flexible. We've done town halls with senatorial candidates. And so what we're really focusing on now is going to be the Senate race. And of course, we've had a big change with that, with Jeff Jackson bowing out and Sherry Beasley being our looks like she is going to be our candidate. And we are so excited to support her. And then the 9th district, or whatever that district winds up being by the time it's all redone, and Bree can tell us more about that. And then also helping Governor Cooper retain his veto power and keep the Republicans away from having that supermajority. So what we're doing with that is we will be stepping back into canvassing. So I'm going to share with you, if I can get my screen here, and I'll share with you our website. And our website does have quite a bit of actions that we can take. And I'm just going to see if I can pop that up for you guys. Hold on one second. Don't you just love when you're trying to get something to pop up here? Hold on one second. So we are Indivisible Indivisible District 9. I had it open and of course I can't get to it when I'm trying to get to it. And when you go to our website, you'll see some familiar faces, as I said. And then on the top right corner, you can go to our events. And with our events are updated, which we have a wonderful web designer that is helping us. So we are actually going to be doing our first canvassing that we are so excited about on January 16th. And we are going to be on the ground, going door to door and doing deep canvassing. So we are so excited about that because it's been quite a while since we've been able to get back out there. We are going to be having our meeting, our next monthly meeting on February 20th. And that is where we are actually going to go and share our yearly strategy, because as we all know, the election 2022 is for all the marbles. We know that if we don't get this election done, that it is going to turn the tide and it is going to be quite a feat to try to turn it back. So we are rolling up our sleeves. We're partnering with our wonderful friends with Evelyn and the Monroe Democracy Center. We're trying to partner as well with our new North Carolina project and the Rural Project and all of in our Poor People's Campaign. And I have 1 minute. So we are so excited to be here and to share that information with you. Please, I'll put my email in the chat. Check us out on our website or our Facebook group, and you can look us up as Indivisible District 9. But I really like our website, and if you're not a Facebooker, you can get to that. Thank you guys for allowing me to have the time, and I will talk to you hopefully in the chat after this.
Wow, this is really great meeting. So we've got Brianna, and Brianna, I may be pronouncing your last name wrong. It's a Scottish thing, bro,
Bro, you did it right.
All right, good.
That's right.
5 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, it is great to be here with all of you. I see a lot of folks on this call that you know have worked with All on the Line this year, and appreciate being in this space with all of you. I just wanted to give an update, really, since a lot of you I know are at least paying attention to what's happening with redistricting. So All on the Line is a 501c4 that this year we have done a lot of training and provided tools and worked with partners to help folks engage on the redistricting process that is still happening, that's with the courts right now. We helped folks look at their communities of interest, figure out what their communities of interest are, make public comments. We had a redistricting process, which is when every 10 years we have to draw new state legislative and congressional districts, and it also happens at the local level. And we help people to participate in that process, even though the process itself was very difficult. It was intentionally kind of opaque and was not made easy to engage. But a lot of folks here made public comments, submitted comments online, and we are currently just finished last week. There was a trial. So the maps passed at the end of last year. They're very problematic. They're very gerrymandered. They are manipulated to give Republicans a very durable majority in the state House, the state Senate, and the state and our congressional maps. 10 of the 14 seats under these maps in Congress will be very heavily skewed towards Republicans. So the good news, though, is that the North Carolina Supreme Court said that there would be a hearing on the maps before they were allowed to go into effect. So they postponed the primary election, which is a really good thing, because the last decade we had the same situation and we had to wait years to get the maps remedied. So in the past week, a 3-judge panel of the Superior Court heard the case. There were 3 different plaintiff groups that were represented. So there were really 3 different cases brought against the maps, and they were joined. So each of those plaintiff groups, one was represented by the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, one was represented by the National Redistricting Foundation, and one was represented by League of Conservation Voters. They made their case, and we expect to get a ruling tomorrow. The Supreme Court laid out a timeline to get a ruling by tomorrow, and then there's 48 hours for whoever, if anyone's going to appeal, for that appeal to take place. So it's a very fast timeline, and everything's moving very quickly. But the good news is that we'll have a ruling, and the Supreme Court will likely hear the case, and we'll have a ruling, probably pretty quickly, and then there will potentially be an opportunity to redraw the maps. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we are asking folks to be and working with folks to support being ready to make public comments if there is another public comment, another opportunity to give input on what those maps look like. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to a YouTube video that we made that shows you how to use a resource that we have to see the maps for yourself. And then, we would love to work with folks. If anyone on this call or anyone in your organization would like to meet with us, look at how the maps are impacting you or your community, and just make sure that people know what's, how they've been impacted and what they can do. We think we still have an opportunity if there is a redraw, which seems like it's definitely a possibility, and we want to make sure that we're giving people the tools to engage in that. So that's what we've been up to. That's what we're doing, and we will continue to do educational programming and talk with groups throughout the year. It's going to be important that people are able to know what district they're in, and we're also supporting the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, advocating for that as well. Those are critical, and if we can get those passed, it would be a huge difference in our having our fair elections.
So Bree, if you're one of those people, or anybody on the call who's one of those people who has the link to call your senators, put it in the chat, because calling on that John Lewis Protect the Vote thing is urgent right now.
That's right, and I will drop a link
by next Monday, the 17th. Something big is happening by Monday, so call your senators now. They're idiots, but call them anyway. So now we're going to hear from Cynthia Perry about AMP America. Cynthia, you must be muted.
I was muted. Sorry about that. Thanks, George. Anyway, I'm Cynthia Perry, and I'm going to be speaking on behalf of ampamerica.org. I believe most of you are already aware of AMP America, AMP being Alliance of Moral Progressives. We are a very, very small organization with a strong and passionate 3-point mission, which is to educate voters, encourage civic engagement, and seek opportunities to collaborate and partnership in efforts with organizations that do the same. Our focus for 2022 will be to engage solely in activities in alignment with our mission. Hence, the reason for our first activity of the year. That is, AMP is hosting a speaking engagement event featuring Dr. Amy Steele, Executive Director of the New North Carolina Project, which Scarlett mentioned just a little earlier that ID9 will be doing some work with that organization. This event will be co-sponsored by 3 of our partners, of course, including North Carolina Individual 9, ID9, the Monroe Democracy Center, Southern Piedmont Circle Poor People's Campaign. Now, that's a little bit about AMP and what we're doing in our first activity, but what I want to do is just take a few minutes to tell you about the event and then share a brief but significant background information on the New North Carolina project, which I believe will demonstrate why there would be interest in hearing Dr. Steele speak. So the first thing I'd like to do is to share with you the flyer that we'll be sending out soon. And I'd like to send it out to each of you that are on the call tonight. We won't be distributing it until starting this Wednesday, but if you'll make sure that your email address is in the chat, we'll be sure to get it out to you and ask that you send it to your associates as well. But the event will take place on February 12th at 2:30. And Dr. Steele will be talking about the New North Carolina project and what they're doing, and they're doing a lot, by the way, and how others can get involved in this new phenomena. Actually, I don't know if many of you know about the organization. It just started last year. So what I want to do is just share just a little bit of information about them. So give me just a second here. Okay. The New North Carolina project has a three-pronged mission as well. One is creating hashtag Voters Forever. And you can see there that their mission is to make politics represent the needs of North Carolinians by investing in communities of color and expanding the engaged electorate, creating hashtag Voters Forever. They are looking to create a more equitable North Carolina and a new North Carolina. And in terms of a new North Carolina, that's doing more than just getting voters to the poll, but that's also cultivating a legacy of political participants who will volunteer, canvass, and run for political office. The leadership consists of the founder, Dr. Amy Steele, who is the executive director. And Dr. Steele, she was a former candidate for the North Carolina House District 82, both in 2018 and 2020. Matter of fact, this is what led to her thinking about what can be done to get more voters registered, engaged, and voting because of the margin by which she lost. And she thought about all the individuals that are not registered in North Carolina. And I think there are over 800,000 people of color that are not registered. And then her deputy director is Bree Hendrick. Now, the thing that I want to share with you is that, remember, I talked about the New North Carolina project just launching last year. Already, this is an organization that is known around the country. Matter of fact, there are several news organizations that have reported on the organization. I chose three to share with you. One is MSNBC. In October, they, on The Last Word, they talked about Dems looking to turn North Carolina blue in 2022. And that is following the footsteps of Stacey Abrams in Georgia. The New North Carolina project seeks to engage minority voters in the 2022 midterms. The Spectrum News One reported in November 2021, the New North Carolina project works to get voters to the polls. And again, it talks about the format that's being used is the same as the one that Stacey Abrams used in Georgia. Bloomberg, same thing. North Carolina group looks to deploy Stacey Abrams' Georgia strategy. Now, the reason I wanted to share that with you is because this is an organization that is looking to do the same thing that was done in Georgia. So we want to get as many people as possible engaged with this organization, help them to know who the organization is, and to volunteer to work with the organization when there is an opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Great. Thanks to all of our second round of speakers. And now we have time for questions. You can raise your hand. You can type your question in the chat. If you have a question for Evelyn about the Monroe Democracy Center, or Scarlett about Indivisible District 9, or Brianna about All on the Line, or Cynthia about AMP America, please raise your hand or type your question in the chat and let's hear it.
George,
Mhm.
This is Cynthia. I believe that I didn't exceed my 5 minutes. There's one thing that I left off. May I have a moment just to share that just quickly?
Go ahead, and then we have
Oh.
Dorothea after you.
Okay.
Has a question.
Thank you. Okay, what I wanted to share with you is one other thing, and that is that when Dr. Steele comes to speak with us, she will talk about the many activities that the New North Carolina project has on the docket already. But there is one project that they have that I'd like to share with you tonight, because several of the events surrounding this project will have taken place by the 12th of February. That project is called Town Hall Series 2022. And what that is that it's a town halls that will be moderated by Dr. Steele. And each of the series will feature elected officials, activists, and experts in the policy field. So one has already taken place, and that's the redistricting topic. On January 19th, infrastructure will be the topic. And then February 2nd, education will be the topic. And there will be three more following, and she will talk about that at the time that she comes to speak with us. There is a link that if Deb can put that in the chat, you can use that link and get to this site and register for any of these series of events that you'd like to register for. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Thanks very much, George. Mhm.
So I see Dorothea and then Diane. Go ahead, Dorothea. It doesn't look like you're muted, but I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Nope. I'm sorry, I don't have any recommendations of what to do, except to use your phone if you're using your computer. Now you're muted. Now you're unmuted, but don't hear you. Dang.
Can you adjust your sound level up in your menu? Maybe it's turned
Well-
all the way down.
If you go to the mute and there's a little like arrow pull down menu, sometimes you just need to change your sound that's coming out of the computer. So maybe, it's looking for a headphone or something, or vice versa.
Does that help any?
There you go.
Thank you for that advice. Appreciate that. Okay, my question is actually, whoops, I think you don't need to see my face. Indivisible 9, are there other groups that are not just for the 9th district? Because I back during the earlier campaigns, I went over there and did some stuff with them and participated in some of that. But since I'm in Alma Adams district, there's very little. She's sort of a lock on her position. But I was wondering about the state and local, or particularly state districts. Are there other areas that have this kind of activity, particularly the canvassing activity on Indivisible? I'll answer on behalf of what I know from Indivisible in Charlotte. There was an Indivisible Charlotte group, and that group has been absorbed into Indivisible NC9. We do go farther than just the 9th district. And as far as the canvassing, we canvass in Mecklenburg all throughout. We canvass in Union County. We've supported and gone to when Cynthia Wallace was running, and we went to support her when she did some events in Anson County. So it isn't just specific to the 9th district, although at the time we were really focusing on flipping the 9th. And again, right now we really want that Senate seat. We got to get Senator Beasley in there, and then we have to get the 8th or the 9th, depending on what it winds up being. So we will have, and canvassing is our love, and so definitely encourage you to check us out, because we do some training. We have, I think we have, Linda might be able to tell you about that. I think we have some pretty good training for our canvassing from people that actually have PhDs in it. So it's kind of interesting. So come on out and give us a try. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm also interested in the AMP America.
we really need to put a lot of focus on the local elections. I mean, the state elections, because control of the state house is going to be really important to see most of our agenda advanced. You know, even if we're able to get anything done on the voting rights issues at the federal level, we need to change the voting rights questions here at the local level or in the state level. And I think any organization that's working on that, if you could bring that information to share with us, that would be very helpful. Thank you very
Dorothea,
much.
before Cynthia says anything, because we're being recorded and haters hate, I have to say that we're nonpartisan. We are
Right.
encouraging people through education to vote in their best interest. And those are the
Yes.
candidates that we align with, the ones who are doing the right thing when it comes to the Poor People's Campaign stuff. I know you got it, Dorothea. This is for anybody listening to the recordings, and the NSA or whoever's listening from the government. If they want to come after us, they can. That's all. You go
I want
ahead.
to promote democracy, which means getting more people out there to not only to speak for themselves, not to have someone to speak for them.
You got that right. Cynthia, do you have a response for AMP America for Dorothea? Then we have Diane and Evelyn after Cynthia responds.
I am so sorry. Somebody texted me and I didn't get the whole essence of what you said, Dorothea. If you could please say that again.
Just a question about what activities are there engaged to work on the state level to get people involved in voting, because a lot of people vote at the top, but they don't get down to the local level. So is there something there to help amp up the moral questions at the lower level of the district level, state and local politics?
Well, actually, that's a very good question. We don't have anything actually planned for this moment. In the past, we have had educational sessions where we have targeted educating on the local level. Not just at the state local level, but also at the municipal local level, because that's where a lot of people don't understand that it's really our municipal and really the municipal that is very, very important, because that's where a lot of candidates come from. And that if we can cultivate candidates at the municipal level, and then they move up through the state and then move up to the federal. That's what we really want to do. And that's what we'd like to communicate. We don't have a plan for that right now, but that's what we'd like to do again, is to get people to understand how important municipal elections are.
Yes, very good. Keep us posted.
All right. We have 5 more minutes for our Q&A. We got Diane and Evelyn. Diane?
Hi there. Okay, this is for Brianna. In terms of what you put on the chat screen, the address here for the YouTube, you've got youtu.be. Do you want a dot between U and B?
Let me double check it and I'll put it in there. I think it is a strange looking, did it not work?
I haven't tried it, but I
think
unusual.
That's right. It's like a short link kind of a situation.
Okay. And also, did you mention that you guys are going to be having a statewide, a January statewide meeting on this Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m.?
I did not. Thank you for mentioning that. But we are. I don't want to be stealing. I will put the link in there. We are.
Okay.
We are having a statewide.
I got an
meeting on
email
Thursday.
to that effect, so I thought, hey, I don't remember it being heard. So
thank you.
Virtual meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be going over by then. We'll have we'll know what the trial court did, and so we'll have some more action items and information about what to do going forward.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Diane. Evelyn? You're muted, Evelyn. Evelyn, now we can't see you or hear you.
She might have fallen off because she generally shows her, she turns her camera on.
Dang. Okay. We'll get her when she comes back. Meanwhile, we have our last set of speakers. Some folks have had to go. And Samantha Hector's up next. Maybe you can share what he put in the chat. And then after you share what Hector put in the chat, we'll hear from the Safe Coalition Little Listeners person, Miko McCarthy. And then Jennifer Vormer, I think you're here with the Black People's Community Justice Center. You're the third set of information we want to hear. And then last, Stacey Barella with North Carolina Medicare for All was intended to speak, but she, like Hector, had to leave early. She let me know she put stuff in the chat. I saw earlier that someone from Medicare for All, Dominique Harris with UE is here. He's also part of Medicare for All. If you're willing to, Dominique, to be our last speaker on this cycle, to just give general information about what's happening or what's coming up for Medicare for All, that would be great. But first, Samantha, can you share whatever Hector put in the chat or what he wanted to share with us?
Sure. So Hector was going to update us on some important immigration reform actions we could take. Hector Baca is from Action NC. So he writes, "Hi everyone, great to see you all. I must apologize, I have to leave for another commitment. Before I leave, I would ask that everyone please call Senator Tillerson Burr to demand that they ignore the parliamentarian and vote to approve a path to citizenship in the Build Back Better bill. Also, please have your organizations reach out to VP Harris, asking that she issue her own opinion on a path to citizenship so that the Senate can vote based on that instead of the parts opinion. It is totally within her power to do it, and it is legal. There is also precedent for it in prior years. Also, reach out to House Dems to advocate for a path to citizenship. And for more info, please reach out to him at hector@actionnc.org. He hung on till the last minute, but he couldn't stay past 7:30. I'm sorry. I'm sure everybody had questions for him.
No worries. Thanks so much. Is Miko here? She was, or he was. I don't know the pronouns for Miko. Well, Samantha, Miko's organization is the Safe Coalition and Little Listeners. So we can't hear from that person right now. Let's look for our other people. Jennifer Volmer. Let's see. Jennifer, are you here?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Yay!
Yes.
Talk
thank
to us,
you.
please. 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can do this in 5 minutes. Our organization is Black People's Community Justice Center, and what we do is we're kind of a little bit of a radical organization. We do court and jail support services. So what that means is when people have cases, we go to court with them, and we have found like this is a way to kind of leverage white privilege in order to help Black people get out of jail or stay out of jail or fight the system kind of thing. We're abolitionist, which means we follow Angela Davis in that we believe that the prisons and jails and police need to be shut down. So when I'm working with people, I'm kind of working from that spot. Our website, I put it in there, I'll put it in there again. But our website kind of breaks down all the things that we do. So part of what we do is we raise bail funds for people. And that's going to be interesting with all this Venmo stuff, because we're used to using all of those e-commerce sites for raising bail. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And we also follow the models of decolonization. So, which is really hard sometimes for in this work, just because it's so saturated with white supremacy. And just to kind of give you an idea, last year, in 2020, up until June of 2020, just counting an 8-month period, we bailed out or provided court support services to over 100 people. And to give you an example of how white privilege works in these situations, in December alone, in just December of 2020, we had 3 cases where in one case, because white people showed up, and only because white people showed up, we had somebody who, instead of doing a 4 to 6 year sentence in prison, got 2 years of probation. We had a gentleman who had a bond of $525,000. We had $500,000 knocked off of his bond, 500 down to 25,000. That was one I didn't think we would be able to do. I did not think that was going to happen. So I was really surprised. And then we had another person who had an $85,000 bond, and we had that reduced to 25,000. And then we raised the bail and got him out. So that's kind of what we do. Our program is modeled after a program that was started by Black women out in Oakland, California. And they were doing court support. And at the end, they kind of summarized, like at the end of the 10 years of doing this, 2 things came out of it. Number one, defendants that have court support fare better, consistently have better outcomes than people who don't. So consistently, and I found that to be true 100% of the time. The case just goes better. The second thing they said was, judges are like everyone else. They behave differently when they're being watched. And especially if they're being watched by white people, especially if they know they're being by white people who will turn up if they have to, right? So we've been doing this since the 2016 uprising, and we have, okay, thank you, 1 minute. And it just works, it works, but it only works if people show up. And we have the hardest time getting white people to show up. So if you watch our website and you watch our Facebook page and Instagram, you'll see that we're going to start court support trainings again. And we really have a tough time with white people, especially liberal whites, the good white people, the Christian white people. Those are we have the hardest time. It just seems like I've been trying for 6 years to get them to come to court support training and show up for Black people.
Well, they got a lot of work to do. That's all you can say, Jennifer. I think I saw something in the chat that they couldn't see your website, Jennifer. So let's figure that out. And I saw in the chat notes from Miko. So it would be great to hear from Miko next. And Samantha, I also know that Stacy Borello put several comments in the chat. She sent me a text saying that, but I'm no good at scrolling up the chat. I get lost. So if you can find, while we're listening to Miko, Stacy's comments in the chat and share those with folks, Samantha, that would be fantastic. Miko, can you speak with us? 5 minutes? Are you on the iPhone, Miko? Did I hallucinate that I saw a text from Miko talking about the Safe Coalition? I was there at the beginning of the Safe Coalition. Linda, I saw you nodding your head like, yes, George, you were hallucinating. I was not.
You're not hallucinating. I saw it too.
Okay, good.
But now I don't see it.
Now you don't see Miko. All right, I know the Safe Coalition. I was on staff with folks when they were being birthed back in 2014, 2015, and it was about police accountability, making sure that there is a citizens-led body that can possibly have subpoena power to be able to look at the records when there's been a shooting or any misconduct on the part of police reported by community people, and to get thorough information about it that's shared back to the community, not some, little board of police that see each other, 3 people talking about it in a closed door, nothing ever reported. Of course, that's old information because that's what I know when we were creating the Safe Coalition back in the day. That's how I know Robert Dawkins, Samantha. And but I don't know what they're doing now except whatever Miko put in the chat. So Samantha, were you able to retrieve anything from Stacy?
Yes, I have Stacy. Before she left, she told us that North Carolina Medicare for All is running a postcard campaign right now. You can request free cards and use them to write to Sherry Beasley and other candidates for Congress. So these are going directly to candidates. Why are we, okay, I wish she was here. Oh, of course we are. Of course we are bombarding the candidates. I get it. So she's also got a link here in the chat. Please copy this chat to your files. She's got a link in here to sign on to the petition and get on their email list. That's about all I see. We have a lot coming up in 2022, especially with several Medicare for All supporters challenging seats in Congress. Join us in the fight for health justice. The contact information is in here also.
Very good. So there's a lot of great stuff in the chat tonight. Make sure, y'all, that you save it. I know that there's an upcoming event of the Faith Work Group of Medicare for All. They're having a webinar with several faith leaders who are talking about Medicare for All, but I'm not sure of the date. I want to say the 18th, but I could be totally wrong. The other thing is these postcards, which I have some. So if you want some postcards, I have a few. I have about 30 that I haven't sent out yet. And they're supposed to go to Sherry Beasley, I think is her name. And they're all supposed to go to that one candidate. There was a logical reason why, I can't remember what it is, but they're not going to anybody but Sherry Beasley. And her first name may not be Sherry. But if you want postcards, you can email me and I figure out how we can get them to you. Otherwise, you can contact Medicare for All, North Carolina Medicare for All, and get some too. I wish I could show them to you, but I can't. They're not in easy reach. So now we have a Q&A session for the last set of people that we heard from, which frankly was Jennifer and who else did we just hear from? It was here. Wait a second, let me see. Jennifer, and that's it. Wow. Because Miko's gone, Hector's not here, Stacy's not here. So does anyone have questions for Jennifer? What you got, Samantha?
Miko is just having, she's having audio problems, but she is responding in the chat.
So if someone has a question, you can put it in the chat for Miko or get on Stack, raise your hand and say it out loud and she can respond. So as people who can give responses, we got Miko and we've got Jennifer. Any questions?
I want to give a shout out to Kenny Robinson, who's here. He is our partner agency. They do re-entry work. So they help people once we get them out, find jobs, clothing, freedom fighting missionaries.
Fantastic. Glad you're here. Hope you come back next time. Dorothea, what you got?
I wanted to ask about for Black People's Community Justice folks. If I go to your website, will there be a listing of court dates and locations that we can, or do you have to sign up through your organization, or can you just show up in court and be an audience, or how does that work?
You can do that. No, when you go to our website, what you'll see is the services we offer and how
Okay.
it works. But the court dates change constantly. So especially right now with COVID, some of the courts are closed. Sometimes they're only doing hearings, sometimes. So it's really crazy. So after you get the training, yeah, you can just be on call and we send out notifications whenever we have court date coming up. Like, we know which hearings we really need people at. Bond hearings, sentencing hearings, that kind of stuff. So as soon as we find out from lawyers, or if we find out from the courts when somebody needs a court date and needs support, then we put the call out.
Got it. Thank
It's
you.
good to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Dorothea, I'm also planning on putting together an not fully interactive, but a kind of interactive calendar for the Facebook page of the 7 Piedmont Circle, so that we can list monthly, partner events and asks and meetings. So it'll be in one place for the community.
Great idea. Yeah.
Bye,
great idea.
Jennifer. Bye, Mayor Jennifer Roberts.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
being
Thanks
here.
so much.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Mayor Roberts.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you so
Bye, I
much.
missed you.
Awesome.
Bye, Jennifer.
Bye.
Any other questions? Samantha, I believe I'm going to turn it over to you to look at our next meeting date and close us out.
Okay, well, I really miss saying thank you to Mayor Roberts, but she's awesome. I work with her on the Reimagining America project also, and she is just a tireless thinker and speaker, and she's always ready to acknowledge the truth while still offering hopeful hope, just hope for the activists in us. Thank you all for being here so much. Shemaya, I know you're not feeling well, and I appreciate you for every single thing you've done for this campaign this past
Thank
year
you.
and helping us kick off this new one. And thank you. And who else is still here that spoke tonight? Let me see.
Cynthia and Bree and
Evelyn?
Evelyn.
Evelyn's still
Evelyn
here.
and
Yes, is Scarlett still here?
Scarlett.
Scarlett.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So,
No, thanks necessary.
No, really, there is a lot of things necessary. You guys are doing really great work, amazing work. You've taken little tiny organizations and you've brought them to just powerful, a powerful place in North Carolina and Charlotte. And we need to do even more for this coming election. And you're the go-tos now. So that's amazing work. And I appreciate it. And you don't stop, all of you. Scarlett, Brianna, I forget your partner's name. Scarlett, I know you work with Rachel, and I've seen her work before also. And you just have amazing organization, and they're so appreciated. And your work is not unseen. And Brianna, you are in that too. Brianna Bro, and I appreciate you always being available when we need information and we need to know what to do next, and we're wringing our hands and I say, we need something that we can do. And you guys are there to give us a way to help, and that's thank you. Cynthia, thank you for that announcement. We're all excited to start working with Amy Steele and do what Stacy did in Georgia, North Carolina, but permanently. Let's permanently get rid of the GOP in this state. Hector had to leave. Jennifer is gone, so Everybody, thank you for coming. And like I said, I'm going to work on a community calendar for our Facebook page and work on building our Facebook page so that the community has a central place to go for information on what's happening right now, today.
Samantha, will we meet again in
I have, yes, I have to
leave
leave to go to another meeting,
but I
but
want to thank Samantha and George for a great meeting. This is
Thanks
Evelyn.
for
Bye.
coming,
Thank
Evelyn.
you.
We're actually gonna get out of here early tonight, so thank you, Evelyn. Anybody else have any comments, questions, or anything they want to say?
The next meeting is,
Next meeting is.
hey, you muted yourself. 24th?
Is that the Monday?
I don't know. Yes, I
Yeah,
think so.
It's Monday, the 24th.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Good
you for a
night.
great.
Good night, Shemaya.
Good
Take care of yourself.
Good
Cynthia
night.
has
Thanks for
something.
hanging in there. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Everybody's leaving, but I just wanted to say also, thank you so much for putting this together, because it was very beneficial to hear what others are doing. And I think for 2022 and 2023, leading up to 2024, this is what we need. We need more collaboration rather than working in silos. So thank you so much for doing this. And I hope to do it and more of us will do it. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia.
All right, y'all be well.
Hey, hello. Hi, team.
Hey, what's
Good
up?
night. See you.
Hi. I'm a
Hi.
little
Good
under the
night.
weather, but it's a new year and I'm ready to sing you guys into action. So next meeting, I'll sing you into action.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
24th.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay, cool.
Can't wait
Bye.
to hear you sing.
Okay.